Hello guys, and welcome to the fourth Java MS Access database application tutorial. So in this tutorial we will write the code to navigate through our database. So before we start writing code, we need to do first thing. In db.java class, where we develop the connection to our database, uh, in the statement line where we created the statement, we need to add two arguments here, con.create statement, and in these braces we need to add two arguments. So arguments are result set dot type scroll insensitive, and another argument is result set dot conquer updatable. Why do we need to add these two arguments? Because if we don't add these two arguments, we won't be able to scroll through our database and update our database. So don't forget to add these two arguments. Now back to our GUI class. In this GUI class, first of all, we will create four buttons. We need to create four buttons, so as an instance variable. So after the declaration of the class, create four buttons. J button b1 equal to new J button, and I will name this I will have this button as next. So this button will show next. Let me just copy and paste, that will be quicker. Control C. So in the second button will be previous, B2, B3 and B4, and the third button will be last, and the fourth button will be first. Okay, so we created our four buttons. Now we need to add these four buttons on our panel. So in this frame method, we created our frame and panel. So in this panel P, we need to add our four buttons which we just created. So P dot add B1. I'll just copy and paste. Control C, Control V, Control V, Control V. B1, B2, B3 and B4. Now I've added four buttons on my panel. Now if we just run our program, and it will have four buttons. Here you go. This is the program. We have next button, previous, last and first. When we click on these buttons, nothing happens because we did not add any action listener yet. We did not tell these buttons what to do. Now we will add action listeners on these buttons to navigate through our database. So I'll create a new method where I will add all the action listener. So under this frame method finishes here, I think so. Yep. Now under this frame method, I'll create a new method, public void btn action. Okay, so this is the method where I will add all the action listener. So start from the first button, as I named my button B1, B2, B3 and B4. So from B1, I will add the action listener on B1. So B1 dot add action listener, new action listener. I won't be explaining in detail how to create an action listener. If you do not know how to create an action listener, I've got a video on how to create action listener. Please watch that video before you watch this one. So public. So after the action listener, we will add a new method, public void action performed, and as an argument we will give action event E. Now whatever we write, it is giving error. You can see here it's giving error message. Why? Because to add action listener we need to import a library, and I did not import a library. So we need import java.awt.event.static. So this library supports all the action listeners. Now you see there's no error message. Okay, so b1.add action listener, then in the braces new action listener, then curly braces, and then inside the curly braces we add an abstract method, public void action performed. This is the method we always need to add when we apply action listeners to any button or anything. So action, as argument of this method, we give action event E, and inside this method whatever we write will be performed when we click the button. Now we want our button to display the next record in the database. So what we need to do is, first of all, try and catch statement. Why? Because we are working with SQL, and SQL throws checked exception in Java, so we need to catch the exception in try and catch block. Exception. If you don't catch that exception, Java will not let you compile your code. So in between try, inside the try block, we will write statement if rs dot next, and then if what is rs? Rs is the result set variable. If we go to our DB class where we created our connection, you see here is result set. We created a result set variable rs, and then rs holds all the record in our table. So if rs dot next, if there is a record, if there is a next record in the database, so what we want to do is we want to be displayed on our frame in our text fields. So what did we name our text fields? Our text fields, we named them T, T1 and T2. So these three text fields displaying our data from database. So if there's a next record, then we want our text fields to display that next record. So we get the T dot set text, and then as a argument we write rs result set dot get string. As all the fields in my database are text type, so we will get rs dot text string and get string. If you have like integer fields in your database, so you need to write get int instead of string. Alright, so rs dot get string, and in the braces and in the Alright, sorry for the delay. I had a phone call, so I have to answer that phone call. So we get rs dot get string, and in as an argument in between the quotation marks we write the field name, exactly the name you given in the database. So my first field name is fname, so fname will be displayed in t text field. Alright, so the second t1 dot set text, then I use rs dot get string, and the second field in the database is l name. Okay, and the third field t2 dot set text, then rs dot get string, and the third field name is age. And all the database field you need to write in between the quotation marks and exactly the name as it is in the database. So if there is next record, then display that record in our fields, and when there is no next record, else, and in between the else we will display a message j option pane dot show j option pane dot show message dialog, and first argument will be null, and the second argument the message we want to be displayed, no more records. Okay, and what else we want to do is rs dot previous. Why I'm writing rs dot previous in the else section? Because when we are scrolling through our database, when we reach the last record and the cursor goes past the last record, so we need to get the cursor back to the last record. That's why I'm doing rs dot previous. So let's run it and test it if the button is working. Let's run the program. So here is our program. Now first record is Steve Swain age 40, and if I click next, nothing happens. Why nothing happens? Let's just find out. Because in the constructor of our GUI class, we need to give the method of the name. So when this class will be run, first of all the constructor will be run. So whatever is mentioned in the constructor, that code will run when the class will run. So we need to give the name of our method in our constructor, which is public GUI. So I've given the name of my method btn action. Now let's run it and test it. Should be working. And when I click next, it goes to the next record. Simon, click next, Matt here. Alright, so and when I click again next, no more records message displayed. So we've created our next button. Now we can scroll to our record. So what next we will do is we will create action listener over our button 2, which will go previous record. So instead of writing all over again, I'll just copy this action listener, B1, all of it, Control C, and then we'll hit enter twice, Control V. And for the previous button is B2. So B2.add action listener, everything is exactly the same. So for the previous button, we need to write rs.previous. So if rs.previous, if there is a previous record in the database, then just get the fields from the database and display on our text field exactly the same. And in the else, we will write rs.next, and we'll display the message there are no more records. So when we run it now, okay, so when we click next button, it goes to the next. There's no more record. Now last record is Matt Hill. So when I click previous, it goes to Simon and Steve. So next and previous buttons are working as expected. Now we will add action listener on our third button, which is, let me check what is third button, B3 last. So which will take us to the last record. So I'll copy and paste my action listener again. Now on the B3. Now for the last one, it's really simple. Last and first button. We don't need to add any if-else statements. So, but we do need to have try and catch block. So in between try block, we will write rs.last and same thing, just copy the display the last record. So rs.last, it will take the cursor to the last record and then set our text fields to that last record. Now if we run it and test it, here's our program. Our first record is Steve Swain. When I click the last button, it takes to the last record, which is Matt Hill. So our last button is working as well. Now the last button, I'll copy this last button and I'll paste it. And now the fourth button is first record, which will take us to the first record. So B4.add action listener, and for the first, it's really simple. Just we need to do rs.first. Okay, and then just it will take the cursor to the first record in the database and just get that record from the database and set it over text field. So now when we run it, okay, now this is our first record, Steve. When we click last, Matt Hill, last record, and then when I click first, it takes me back to the first record, Steve Swain. So next, previous button are working as well. So we've created over 4 buttons: previous, next, first, and last. And we all created all these action listener in one method called btn action. and we mentioned this method in our constructor. So that's it for this tutorial. So in the next tutorial I will write the code to update a record, update existing record, and how to add new record in the database. So if you have any problem understanding anything from this tutorial, please do send me an email. I will help you. And thanks for watching. Please rate, comment, and subscribe, and see you in the next tutorial.